I was watching the Time Teller video channel with Jory Goodman, who did a video on this GWF A1000. His was the Royal Naval version, but he made a comment that you need the app to use this watch. Let's check each individual function and see how much we can get by without a phone. Let's imagine that there is a zombie apocalypse and we are stuck on a deserted island in the middle of nowhere. Let's just check a few basic things first. We'll pass the tide for the moment. The first setting that we have, stopwatch. So in order to enter stopwatch mode, press bottom left twice, then press bottom right, and that's your stopwatch. Stop the stopwatch by pressing bottom right. There is no lap feature on here. Top left resets it. So the stopwatch works easily without the app. Let's go to the next thing. Timer. Can we use the timer without the app? Let's have a look. Undo the crown, pull it out 1 point, and that will set the timer to whatever we want to set it to. We'll just let it go all the way around there. So effectively that would be a 6-hour timer. Press the crown in, do it up, bottom right, start your timer. So the timer works. Bottom right stops the timer, top left resets it. Let's have a look at the next thing. Alarm. Let's have a look. Undo the crown, pull it out 1 point, and let's have a look and see. Okay, looks like we can probably set the alarm here. The little 24-hour hands rotating down here, look. And if we stop there, so that would be 9:40 AM. It is fiddly. You do have to. You kind of got to be a bit gentle with it. And when you press bottom right down here, bottom right, that toggles the alarm on, off, on, off. Press the crown back in again. We'll go back to the time. Diving mode, long press, bottom left. That takes you down to the dive mode. Now, obviously this you have to do on the watch. When you're in diving mode, all of the hands here go to the 12 o'clock, and then bottom left on this sub dial is your current home time. Date down here 13, which in Jory's video he mentioned that he didn't like the date down there. I think it works well down there. I quite like the date down there at the 4:30, and then that means you can have a dial over here, and personally I prefer to have my dials around here rather than one stuck up the top there. When we're ready to go diving, a long press bottom right, and that starts the dive time. And we're down there for, a little bit. And then when we come back to the surface, we press bottom right again for a little bit of time, maybe about 5 seconds. And now this is now measuring surface time. And obviously this now counts backwards. This one, I believe, will count backwards for 24 hours, and the forward time counts, I believe, forward for 2 hours. Doing it manually like this, you might find that the maximum dive time and surface time that you can see is 1 hour. So yes, you would not be able to use the data log for various dives, nor the location feature, obviously. But obviously if you're on your deserted island in the middle of the zombie apocalypse, I don't think you want to be sharing your location with the local zombie population. If you need to see any of the other dials or anything like that, top left just moves everything to the 11:30, so you can see everything more clearly on this beautiful blue-grey screen. Press bottom left, and that just resets everything back to where you were. As long as you have good eyesight, it is easy to see which function you are in. Okay, now what else can we do on here? Let's have a look. What happens when we press bottom left once? Side time. So this is indicating that In my local area, which I set using the app, high tide is pretty much now. Now, what happens, we're on our desert island and we don't have access to the phone or the app. Can we set the high tide time manually? Let's have a look. Pull out the crown once. Just let it do whatever it's going to do. Okay, so now you can see that it is showing that the first high tide of today is AM, by this little counter over here, 5:45, set via the app. So with the counter here pointing at the high tide, which it will do when you're checking this, look what happens when you rotate the bezel up. We could set the alarm now to, oh, okay, all right, say 8:30, whatever. You know, even if you don't have the app and you don't have your phone, then go into tide time, pull out the crown one stop, rotate the bezel until you set it to the first high tide of the day, if there's two. If there's only one, then just set it to the one high tide of that day. And then when you've manually set it, obviously press the crown in, rotate the bezel, and now you can see that the afternoon high tide is going to be very, very soon, because we didn't really change it very much. Let's change it a bit more. Let's pull that crown out, one stop, so the high tide time is going to go back to what we set it at, 8:30, that's what we set it for earlier. And now let's say high tide, let's make it much later. Okay, let's say high tide now is 11:55 in the morning. Push the crown in. It obviously zeroes itself over here. So you just need to recycle it to stopwatch, back to the day, then go to the tide. And now you can see, if we move the hands out the way, you can see now based on the new tide setting that we kind of made up, now is low tide up here. What can we do regarding time? So in calendar mode, you can see the marker over here is in calendar mode, pointing to the day of the week. When you pull the crown out one stop, this accesses the dual time or world time, that dial on the bottom left hand side. When you rotate the crown forward or back, that changes that sub dial forward or back 1 hour depending on the time zone. And if we want to alter the AT auto time, that would be your most used. Press and hold top right. That changes that little arrow to standard. Top right again, changes it to daylight saving time. And again to automatic time zone. So if we were in our deserted island, then we may very want to change it to standard time. Put it out one more stop. That's 2 stops out now. Top right. This is now for your home time. Daylight savings time, and then top right again takes you to auto time. What about the hands? Can we change the hands? Let's have a look. Make sure you're in calendar mode. As always, pull out the crown 2 stops. Obviously from here you can very simply rotate the crown to adjust your time zone or your home time. But let's look beyond that. Can we do this manually? Bottom left for about 1 second. You've hacked the second hand. This watch is hackable. Let's assume that the actual time is 7:30. Look, rotate to 7:30. Oh, isn't that clever? If the time is 8:30, oh, looky, 8:30, 9:30. Press the crown in all the way, and you now have the time for 9:30 and the seconds exact. Pull the crown back out again, bottom left, hold it in, let it rotate. The first time you do it is the minute hand. The second time you do it is the hour hand. The third time that you do it,
so here 12 o'clock would be 2000, 1 o'clock would be 2010, 2 o'clock 2020.
press it again, that's 2022. That's 2023, press it again, the month, June, July, press it again, and now it's going to the 14th. Rotate the bezel, the 15th. You can even go backwards. It's a bit slower backwards, look. Very much slower backwards. Very much slower backwards. And when you've checked the date and you're happy with the time, you've hacked it, your seconds are exact, you've killed the zombie, nabbed his Rolex watch, set your date and your time, put the crown in all the way in, and you now have your new date and time set up. You're walking along and guess what? You bump into a phone with G-Shock connected, attached to it. Right, so we found a phone, press bottom right until it goes round to C. It's connected to my phone, it's noticed that it's out of sync, the watch time has been adjusted and it is now automatically adjusting the date, the time and everything. So you'll notice now that the date is changing to the 13th. And now the watch is back to proper UK normal time. We will have to reset, when we reset the watch and resynchronized it, we will have to resynchronize high tide there, I think. That's one thing we will have to do, because set it
In the same way, of course, as the app reset the watch, the app resets the tide time.
And now we've got that set correctly. If you do change high tide time, because those pesky zombies are around, when the zombie apocalypse is over and you go home, you will also just have to separately adjust the tide time as well. The one thing that you can't appear to do is adjust the dual time.
On the watch manually, I don't show it here, but you can toggle between world time and home time with a long press of top right. Unfortunately, you can't really change the world time by making the world time the home time, changing the time and then trying to toggle it back again. I tried it and it doesn't really seem to work like that. So you're limited, I think, to just being able to change the regular time as you see fit.
So all of that can be done on the watch relatively straightforwardly. Of course, generally speaking, just leave it connected to your phone and then you don't have to worry about it, think about it or anything. And of course leave it in the sun, so then you don't have to think about the battery. Of course, thank you very much for watching this little video on how to use this watch manually. I have no sponsors. These are my watches, unless I specify at the beginning, like with Stephen's Oyster Perpetual Tiffany dial watch and his moon watch. All of the watches that you see on this channel are my watches. I have no sponsorships or anything like that, so please watch these videos to the very, very end. Help me get past 1,000 subscribers, which we're getting quite close to now, and then I can monetize this channel, make a teeny weeny bit of money from the adverts that you're forced to watch anyway, and that'll help pay towards some of these watches that I have bought. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit that notification button to all, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks very much.